Many people that suffer with anxiety and depression are often encouraged to take up some form of exercise. When starting exercise under these conditions, it's best to start off with a very simple method of training. The best exercise that doesn't need any equipment, any complicated training schedules, or any overly grueling methods of exercise is walking. But how do we make the most of this exercise with an aim to alleviate the symptoms of depression and anxiety? Most of the time when we walk, we've got a very functional aim. We're aiming to get to work, or get to the shops, or get to the bus stop. There's always a goal in place. Now, to use walking to help with mental health, it's important to get that mindset out of your head. But how do we do this? The best way to do this that I've found, which has helped me on my journey with battling depression, is walking meditation. So what exactly is walking meditation? Meditation, well, for more what we're after, mindfulness, is a method of slowing down our inner dialogue and our inner thoughts to the point where our minds are clear from distractions and we are living in the moment as best as possible. It usually consists of sitting quietly and concentrating on your breathing and allowing any thoughts that come in to just wash over us, and we can look at those in a non-judgmental way. We can just let them come in and out of our heads while we maintain that concentration of breathing in and out. Mindfulness is a very powerful tool that should be used on a daily basis, but I'll go into mindfulness on another video. For this video, we're going to be talking about how to use some of those mindfulness methods to add into our walking schedule. So how do we actually practice walking meditation? I'll go over this step by step so you've always got this video as a reference if you're not sure about a certain part of the schedule. The first thing to do before we start is to find a place that you know pretty well, that you could walk around in about maybe 10 to 15 minutes to start with. Ideally, it will be a place that's in the countryside or around nature in some description. If there's a walk through the woods or through fields, something like that would be ideal, where there's going to be as little amount of people as possible, and you want it as quiet as you can get it. Now, obviously, if you live in a city, it's going to be difficult, but sometimes some cities have parks that you might have access to that you can walk around. But if not, you can still just walk along your street doing this method. Ideally, you want to be around nature, but it's not essential, it's just preferable. Make sure this walk is a walk that you know well, because although it's fun to explore, for what we're going to be doing, we don't want to have any other thoughts, especially things of not knowing where you are or what direction to take. You need to just know it, even if it's just walking around a field, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so step one, when you get to the area you're going to walk in, first thing to do is to just close your eyes, take a nice big deep breath in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Do this 3 times, and as you do it, just try and breathe in relaxation and calmness and breathe out any negative thoughts that you might have. Once you've done this 3 times, we're ready to progress to step 2. Step 2 is to start walking. Now just walk in a relatively slow pace that's comfortable for you, and don't concentrate on anything for a few minutes, just walk. So as you're walking, what we need to do now is concentrate on your breathing. So in your mind, just as you breathe in, just say in, as you breathe out, just say out. And do this at your normal breath, no need to deep breathe here, just normal breathing pattern. And that's all you're going to think about, in, out, in, out, in, out, as you're walking. Now, you can do this, depending on how far you want to get into it. This step is enough to do your walk just focusing on in and out when you very first start. Naturally, thoughts will start entering your head, like, oh, I've got to do this tomorrow, or I've got to pay this bill, or I've got to get back for whatever it is, you're going to have these thoughts because it's impossible for us to completely switch those off. But the way around that is, as soon as these thoughts come into your head, recognise that that thought has come into your head. So if it's you've got to go shopping tomorrow, for example, as soon as that thought comes in your head, recognise it. Okay, I'm thinking about something other than in and out, and then bring your thought back to in and out and let that thought just leave your mind. Now this is probably one of the hardest things about mindfulness meditation, is to get rid of those thoughts. So the idea is we're not getting rid of them, we're just putting them to one side until later on when we can deal with whatever that issue is. For the time being, all you're doing is breathing in, breathing out, and taking one step after another until you reach the time limit you've set yourself. Now I recommend 10 to 15 minutes, but depending on how you feel and what state of mind you're in, you can shorten this if you want to whatever you want to do. I think the important thing is just do it every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes around your back garden or around the block or somewhere, as long as you're doing that. So 10 to 15 minutes is an ideal amount. If you don't feel comfortable being out for that long, then start off very gradually and start off with this step, which is focusing on the in and out breath. Thoughts will come, recognise that they're there, and then allow them to shift to one side as you concentrate back on breathing in and breathing out. It's important to practice step 1 and 2 every time you take these walking meditations. Once you feel comfortable with that, then you can move on to the next step, step 3, which is starting to get your other senses involved in the walk. So the first sense you want to get involved is the sense of touch and feel. So you're not going to go around touching things, but the idea is to get into the routine of focusing on in and out, then start thinking about your skin and start noticing the feelings. So maybe there's a breeze that you can feel on your arms, on your face, and concentrate on that feeling. Then start thinking about the clothes that you're wearing, and perhaps you can feel the sleeve of your t-shirt rubbing against your arm, or your trousers rubbing against your ankles, and start to become aware of all those sensations that you would normally not notice. So while you're walking, you're breathing in and out, you're focusing on your breath, and you're feeling these things over your skin. Perhaps you can feel the fabric of your socks or shoes around your feet, or if you're wearing a hat, you can feel it sitting on your head. And just become aware of that sensation. If you've been taking regular cold showers, which I recommend, you'll find this step very easy. I'll talk about that on another video, because I think that's a very good companion for walking meditation. So now for the next couple of walks, do those 3 steps until you feel comfortable doing that. Then move on to step 4. Step 4, we're going to bring in another sense, our sense of hearing. Now normally as we go about our day-to-day business, we often don't hear anything other than what we're focusing on. So you might hear the traffic in the background, maybe if it's windy or raining you might hear that, but generally speaking we don't hear anything other than main sounds. So what we do, we're going to start noticing sounds. So as you're walking, you're breathing, you've started to feel everything on you, the breeze on you, your clothing. Then you're going to start listening. So first of all, listen to the main sounds. So perhaps it's near a road, you can hear the traffic zooming past. Perhaps you're in the woods and there's birds singing. Or whatever is the main thing that you're hearing without focusing on hearing. Then start trying to hear things that aren't quite as noticeable. Perhaps there's someone talking across the street. Perhaps there's a different type of bird that's not quite as loud as the others that you can hear making its noise. And just listen out for anything that you might not normally hear. So you might hear the ground crunching under your feet as you're walking, your footsteps. You might hear your clothing rubbing against itself. And try and pinpoint these sounds. Once you get comfortable with the sounds that are in the near vicinity, start trying to think further. Start trying to listen out for sounds that are very, very quiet and subtle. When you start noticing these subtle sounds, it could be an aeroplane flying past miles away, but you might just be able to pick that out. And you'll be surprised how sensitive your hearing can actually be when it's focused in this way. And again, when thoughts come and go, just allow them to pass, set them to one side and continue with your experience. Okay, so the next step, we're going to get our sense of smell involved in this. So we've gone through the process, we've concentrated on feeling, breathing in and out, allowing thoughts to come and go, and we've listened out for as much detail as we can. The next step is to start smelling the environment. Now, if you're in the woods, this is much better than if you're in the city, but you can start smelling the nature around you. Certain plants, certain trees have different odours and different smells. And first of all, it's just like the hearing, you're going to smell things that really stand out that you normally can smell. And then as you progress, you'll start smelling other things. You might smell your own aftershave, for example, or someone else's perfume from across the street. Or you might start smelling flowers as you go past them. Or anything that's on the air you'll be able to smell, but really focus on that and use that sense to as best as you can. And then you'll start noticing you're smelling things that are things you've never smelled before, especially when you're out in nature. If you're walking alongside the road, you're going to smell the exhaust fumes, and if there's any shops you're going past, you'll get the odours from them. So even bad smells, you'll start to recognise them, it's just another smell. You're not smelling these things to enjoy the moment, you're just trying to enhance your sense as much as you can. So do that for a few days, and once you feel comfortable with that, you can move on to the next step, which is probably arguably one of our most important senses, is our vision. Now, we use our vision all the time without thinking about it. We're constantly looking at things. We don't always process what we look at, but we know it's there and we're aware that things are around us. Because normally when we walk, we have a certain path of vision that we look at every time. Especially if we go on a certain walk every day, what we need to do is expand that. So start noticing big things, trees, vehicles, buildings, things that are really easy to notice, and notice them and actually look at them. Don't just think, oh, there's a building. Like, look at the brickwork on it, the windows, look at the shape. Same with trees, it's not just another tree. Look at how the branches come out of the trunk, look at how the leaves grow. And as you're looking at these large things, you'll start to become more aware of what's around you. Then we start looking at things that are a bit smaller, like certain hedges or plants or shop fronts, or things that aren't as noticeable but are still quite noticeable. Once we've gone through that, then we'll start taking a real notice of things. If there's a plant, we'll look at each petal on it, we'll look at the stalk, we'll look at the leaves, we'll look at the insects that are flying on top of it and landing. Then we'll look at the insect and we'll look at how small it is, how delicate it is, and we'll start looking at details on its body and its wings. So you're training your vision to almost become microscopic or zooming in. So the more we practice these methods, the more you'll be able to pick out tiny details that you've never even noticed before or even thought existed. So what we do that for a few days. Then we go on to the next step, which incorporates everything. So we do the whole lot. We feel, we smell, we hear, we see, and we combine the whole lot, because the previous steps, it's probably a good idea just to do one of them for that walk. So for example, you'll do your breathing and your walking, you'll concentrate on that. You do that every single time you do this, and then you pick one sense. Once you've gone through them all in order, pick one sense. So say perhaps, today I'm going to focus on my hearing. And then you go out, you breathe, focus on the breathing, clear your mind, get rid of those thoughts, then just use your ears, pick up everything, and do that for the entire walk. Then the next day, same thing again, but instead of hearing, do vision. Day after, same thing again, do sense of touch and feel. Once you've done that and you're comfortable with each of those steps and you can do them confidently, then put the whole lot together on one walk. And the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll be with it, and you'll start taking longer walks where you can make sure you incorporate all those senses. And then you'll start using that in everyday practice. And that's the goal. The goal is, when you're outside, to absorb the world around you. And this not only heightens your awareness, it also makes the world much more interesting. It makes it a much more amazing place to see, because you're actually appreciating what's around you, instead of just seeing that's a path from my house to the bus stop. Now, once you've practiced this, everywhere you go will seem like a new place, because you'll go to different areas and you'll use these techniques, and you'll see things and hear things and smell things you've never even experienced before, despite the fact that they've always been there. So that should be enough information for you to get out there and start walking meditation. And the more you do this as well, getting outside, breathing in the air, being around nature, because you are part of the world, and these experiences will bring you closer to the world around you, make you feel better. It definitely works for me, it helps me a lot. Even if I'm feeling very down or very anxious, I'll take one of these walks and I straight away feel much better than I did before. What I'll do in the comments, I'll write step by step each part of this exercise, so that you can easily go back and have a look at what you do in written form if you find that a bit easier. And yeah, just go and give it a try, see how you feel, see how comfortable you get. And please put in the comments on how you get on with it, because I'll be really interested to find out if this is helping other people as much as it's helped me. So please put in the comments, or if you have any other tips or techniques, put that in there as well. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and it's just a short video really, just explaining a very large topic. But I'll be doing other videos on this kind of thing, so look out for those, and please press like and subscribe if you found some value in this video. See you soon.